Hi, everyone. This is Aaron, and you are listening to Walnut Commentary, the official podcast for the pastors and leaders of FCBC Walnut. I am here with Pastor Hanley, the lead English pastor of our church. He just came back from his sabbatical over the summer. So, Pastor Hanley, I wanted to ask you, what are some reflections from your recent sabbatical?
There's a few reflections that I could share, but today I'm just going to focus on one because if I shared all of them, this would be an hour long. But this sabbatical really allowed me to step off the treadmill of ministry where it's nonstop, to take a break and to rest and to remember that my identity needs to be anchored upon Christ. My identity needs to be shaped by Christ, and I need a daily reminder of that. You see, FCBC Walnut has become very part of my bloodstream, and that's because of my upbringing here at this church. It's because of how this church has lovingly invested in me. That's coupled with my love for the flock here and my hope for the church's future. So it's really hard for me to step away for 3 months, especially because we had pastors transitioning out. We knew that changes were happening, and I really wanted to be here at church for all the action. I didn't want to miss out. I wanted to be here to make decisions. I wanted to be part of the conversations during the transition. And I really didn't want to be perceived as lazy. I didn't want people to wonder, where's our pastor? Why is he away? Why isn't he preaching? Why isn't he leading us? Why is he resting while all these changes are happening? Doesn't he know that pastors are transitioning out? Where's Hanley? And I really wanted to be there to shepherd the flock through all of these changes and through this journey of this transition. So it was really hard for me to step away. But the pastors wisely advised me and counseled me that I needed a sabbatical, that now was the time, that I should take the 3 months to finish up my doctoral writing, to finish up my doctorate of ministry studies, to rest, to spend time with my wife, and really to refuel for the marathon ahead of us as a pastoral team that would be leaner and thinner in the sense of we'd have less staff. And I would take on more responsibility as well as Pastor Terrence and the rest of our English team in particular. But everybody around me, everyone close to me, my wife, the pastors that work closely with me, everyone knew that I needed a sabbatical, except for me. I was the only one in denial. I was the only person who felt like I didn't really need a break, that I could just keep running. Yet stepping away, the first month really revealed how my identity was being shaped, not by Christ, but what I perceived I was doing for Christ. My identity was being shaped by ministry. My identity was being shaped in particular by FCBC Walnut. Now, it's a great thing to love the church, but it can be a very dangerous place to be when your love for the church overshadows your love for Christ. You see, before the sabbatical, on most Sundays, typically I would arrive at church between 8 to 8:30 a.m., sometime in between that window, and I would just get ready for a day of ministry. Usually 9 a.m., there's the Sunday school hour. Maybe I have some counseling or a meeting. And then the 10 a.m. hour, it would be service, preaching or administering the service, and then an afternoon of meetings. So you can imagine that for the first month of sabbatical, Sunday mornings were really hard for me. I would sit there, literally look at my wife and say, hey, we're going to this 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. service, and we don't have to leave for another hour. What should I do? Should I read? Should I go for a jog? How do I even prepare myself? Because I was so used to Sunday being a ministry day that I forgot what it was like to prepare my heart just to be a worshiper. And so it was so hard for me on those Sunday mornings that first month. I remember during the weekdays, I would read the staff meeting minutes every Tuesday. I would read the building committee emails that were sent to me. And for the first month, I did a pretty good job of having one of those automatic email response things like, oh, thank you for your email, I'm on sabbatical. But eventually I took it off because I felt guilty that email message kept kicking everyone's email back. So I started to read my emails, and really it took the entire month of July for me to realize what I was doing, that I didn't know how to step away. I didn't know how to pause. I didn't know how to just find my worth and my value in Christ. I didn't know how to enjoy time off with my wife. And I wanted to be part of FCBC Walnut. You see, the sad reality that God graciously revealed to me is that if I can't step away for 3 months, then how will I be able to step away during seasons of need to tend to my family? How will I learn to prioritize my children? Or what if God calls me to lead somewhere other than FCBC? How will I step away? Or what if God calls me into retirement, which I know that's coming, maybe in 3 decades, God will call me into retirement. If I can't step away for 3 months, then when I retire, I'm setting myself up to fall into depression because I wouldn't know what to do with myself. My value, my identity, my life would revolve around serving Christ rather than my identity being about Christ himself. You see, serving Christ is good, but it needs to be all about Christ. But when serving Christ, when the act of serving Christ begins to take precedence over Christ himself, then we're really missing the point of ministry. And as a pastor shepherd, my calling is to point people to Christ. And I know that I can't do that if my identity is not being shaped by Christ himself. So one of my major reflections from this sabbatical is remembering how important it is to pace myself and to have my identity continually anchored on Christ, our sure and steady anchor.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and thank you, Pastor Hanley. It's great to have you back. You can check out more episodes of Walnut Commentary at our archive at walnutcommentary.tumblr.com, and you can also find our church on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Our handle for everything is at FCBC Walnut. Be sure to subscribe to our social media podcast feed. You can search for us in your favorite podcast player. Just search for FCBC Walnut. Thanks. See you soon.